Thanks for joining us once again. Today we focus on sort of the big dog response to what's going on with Tesla's production number for the quarter. So I want to here. Once again, we are covering what's going on with the big dog reaction to the numbers that came in production from Tesla. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. Now, there's a concept out there. So if you look at what's going on with stocks, 60% of them are controlled or owned by large institutions. So the trend is that whatever they tend to do tends to shape the market because of the large percentage of stock that they hold. So for today's conversation, we're trying to tease out, well, what was the reaction of the big dogs to what happened with the production numbers? So the answer that seems to be coming up is, we were above 280, maybe 283 on the high for the week. And then even after we got into what are the institutions doing relative to Tesla stock, they seem to be saying, hey, we're happy, it isn't a sell the farm because it isn't great news. It's more of a meh. It's fully valued for where it should be, and we're kind of happy with what the number is currently. So I wanted to kind of dive into why this might be occurring. So, by the way, please hit the bell icon. We're noticing a lot of our viewers can't find our show because they did not hit the bell icon or send us an email address so we can let you know when a new show arrives. So what basically is happening is there are a number of questions that are unanswered currently. So the first thing is that, as you know, in last quarter, Elon had chosen to cut prices as a way to boost the number of vehicles that we're selling. The net result of this was we had positive growth in the number of vehicles being sold, but negative growth in earnings because the margins were actually lower. So in the case of the current quarter, basically Elon decided to redo the pricing models. He raised prices on the more expensive vehicles from Model Y all the way through S and X and the higher end vehicles, and then he heavily discounted the Model 3 on the bottom end. So the numbers are kind of in an unknown zone what the margins might be. What percentage of the quarter was kind of back to the general pricing prior to the price cuts that we saw go on at the beginning of this year? It's my belief that the answer to all this is reflected in the current stock price. Namely, what people are saying is, hey, revenue is doing well, we're okay. Now we have news that they're doing job cuts in China as a way to address sort of margins relative to number of vehicles sold. So I really think that we're in an unknown zone. So I think that we've seen some interesting responses to how do you sort of calculate where Tesla is at. There's the bull case, there's the neutral case, and then there's the bear case. Which one are we in? Well, based on what we've seen thus far, it's my belief that we're kind of in the neutral case. We have growing number of vehicles sold, great news. We have, things like, we've had a nice bump in the stock price based on the number of entities, including Mercedes now, that have decided to sign on for Tesla's network as where they're going to be charging their vehicles. And I think that's domestically and internationally. Daimler is more of an international entity between China and Europe than they are just domestic as they are, as they are in the United States. So I think the 19th is when we're coming out with earnings. My speculation is that we likely do what we're doing now, which is more of a sideways until we finally know how many of the, one, when the Cybertruck's going to come out, and two, how many of them they're going to be delivering. Are we going to get scale, and how are those going to affect the numbers as we're moving forward is sort of the next piece of news that we're really looking forward to as we enter this earnings announcement. So, I think that's generally it. Another question that's lurking out there is Tesla, Elon able to cut costs so that the cost cuts can make up for the discounts that have been done to increase sales, etc.? I would say it's possible, but I'd also say probably not, because we haven't seen any significant drop, in any cost number. I check, for example, oil prices on a daily basis. We're up a couple of bucks. So we're sort of rotating between the late 60s, 63 to 65, and the low 70s, 72, 73, when we're looking at domestic crude. So we're not seeing a dramatic drop in any commodity that's part of the base cost of the vehicle. So I guess the only thing I could say that I've seen numbers on moving dramatically is that when we were in shortage zone for the Tesla vehicles, we actually were seeing, very strong pricing that Tesla could get for used vehicles. If anything, now we're seeing lower, based on the number of new manufacturers that are bringing products out, we're actually seeing lower average sales price for Tesla vehicles. So I would say that that's the only place where we see a dropping number, and less revenue per vehicle is definitely not going to help the bottom line. So overall, I'd say that we have some nice juice coming from the forecasted revenue from new entities joining the charging networks going forward. That revenue has not arrived yet, and in most cases doesn't seem to arrive until 2025. But for the folks that rely on forecasts, we're actually in pretty good shape. We look forward to see how all this plays out. So the story right now overall is that we haven't had any terrific surprises. If anything, we've had the kind of surprises like the layoffs in China relative to margins that suggest that we're kind of fully valued right now. And it's way better than we were 3-6 months ago, but kind of not what we were hoping for in terms of getting up to the higher range of where the numbers could be for Tesla currently. So we very much look forward to your comments on this. Please take time to like and subscribe, and we'll definitely keep you posted. We're sort of slow on shows for this week because we were hoping to really get solid input from what the big dogs were talking about. And they seem to be, like I said, in that neutral zone where we're off, in the 274 zone, with the peak of the week being about 280. So it did not trigger huge buying by the largest entities out there, is my analysis. And therefore price is slightly down, but nothing substantial. At any rate, want to again thank you for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Would also like to encourage you to consider I want to modify what we're talking about here. One of our folks that are focused on your neural health suggested things like learning a language or playing an instrument allows your neural side to sort of expand in that realm and therefore have some better outcomes relative to your mental health, as well as our 20-minute walk per day. If you're a doc in this space, would like to add to our suggestions, please type your comments in below. Look forward to your comments on this. Anyway, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Have a great day. Tschüss, au revoir, lehitrot, khoda hafiz, namaste, hid, zdravstvuyte. Arrivederci, and in Jamaica we say enough respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.